Greetings and welcome to this episode of the Loveseat Therapist. Thank you so much for joining us today. I know it's been a long time since I've posted a new one of these, and I apologize for the delay. I have been very busily working on the content for them as well as the images and researching various things, as well as doing the regular normal daily and weeklies, and then, trying to live my life and do my job and that kind of thing. So I appreciate you guys being so patient with this process, and I really appreciate you being here. If you feel so inclined to like and or subscribe to the video and or channel and you haven't already done so, I invite you to do that if you find any value in this content whatsoever. If anything that you do with that helps the YouTube algorithm help other people find these videos and find this channel. They're looking for the similar kind of love and support and encouragement that you're going to hear no matter what video you click on this channel. So, as I said, thank you so much for joining us today. What is our topic of conversation for today as I sit back, laying back on my love seat and go through this? It either fits or it doesn't. And that's it. So what are we talking about here? Are we talking about clothes? What are we talking about? Well, we're talking about polarity, and we have mentioned this in multiple videos. It's also one of the episodes in our Living Our Most Authentic Self episodes, our playlist and series for that, which I am also still working on as well, bringing you new content in that playlist as well. But we've talked before about the Hermetic law of polarity. We live in a three-dimensional world. We can go up, down, right, left, forward, backward. That gives us our three dimensions. If you think of it like a graph, you've got the up and down axis, you've got the sideways axis, and then you've got one that's actually coming out of the page. That's what makes it the difference between two-dimensional, a flat universe, and there are scientific studies that are confirming that one dimension and two dimension are actually things that exist with their own separate laws. So we live in a three-dimensional world, which means we have opposites. We have man and woman. We have old and young. We have new and used. We have a whole bunch of different ways of looking at things, everything. Because it's in the third dimension. Everything that we interact with is dual. Everything has poles. Again, think of it like that line with two arrows, one going on one end going to the right, one arrow on one end to the left, going to the left. Everything has poles. Everything has its pair of opposites. Opposites are identical in nature, and think about it, hot and cold. We're just talking about temperature. So even though they seem like completely different creatures, they're not. They're simply different degrees on a particular scale. So you have rich and poor. It's just a matter of how much money is or isn't there. Hot or cold, a difference of temperature. Up and down, a difference of height. Right? Extremes meet in the middle. Extremes meet in the middle. Always. All paradoxes may be reconciled. And I love this image. This yin-yang. Everything is dual. Everything has an opposite. We think about it like coins, okay? You have one coin, but would it be impossible to have that coin without having two sides to that coin? Right? We know that in the emotional scale, and we've talked about this multiple times on this channel, this is that map of consciousness developed by David Hawkins. He's an amazing author and just brilliant man. Came up with this concept of how these emotions towards the bottom of this scale of shame and guilt and apathy and grief, they feel heavy. They weigh us down. They actually compress us, right? Whereas feeling love and joy and peace and bliss, enlightenment, they make you feel light. You actually are sitting up straighter just in the difference in me reading those words. You changed your posture, didn't you? Yeah, I know. I did too. Unconsciously, we should call it the map of unconsciousness, right? We understand that these are just opposites on a pole of consciousness. If you're feeling shame about something, there is an opportunity to turn it that 180 degrees into enlightenment, where you recognize the blessings, the blessings, the blessings and the lessons that come from whatever it was that shamed you. And you find new light that is exploding out of you. Okay, these are all just various scales. So how do we use this, and how do we start implementing this in our lives to understand what the difference is between it either fits or it doesn't? What are we talking about in more detail here? Let's get down to the nitty-gritty. We're talking about things that you feel like you're leaning towards, like you're leaning into. I've mentioned before on this channel the tip test. This was something I learned decades ago in another lifetime, where you stand or sit, doesn't matter what your posture is, but you can feel it better. And it's a good idea, if you haven't done this practice previously, that you start with it from standing up, because you'll be able to recognize what your body is doing. You are like a pendulum, like a crystal pendulum that swings back and forth between yes and no, which are also opposites, remember, just various sides of a particular scale. Everything has its opposites, right? But you stand with your feet about shoulder width apart, straight, pointing forward, hands relaxed at your side, head up, chin parallel with the ground. You want to have your back feel straight without feeling rigid. Relax your knees, don't bend them necessarily, but don't have them locked in a flat open position, okay? Just relax them and let them bend slightly. Okay, and consider a question. What is your name? I would stand and say, my name is Kat Morgan. And I would notice how my body would either sway forward. Yes, that is correct. I am leaning into it. I can feel myself leaning into it. Or no, I'm backing away. I feel myself backing up. No, this isn't my name. Try it with your name. Right now, stand up right now. Even if you've done this a million times before, just do it again, so that we all do it as a collective. Here we go. Stand up and say, my name is. Did you notice how you started to lean forward? Yeah. Now do an opposite. Say, my name is Sally Smith. And unless your name is Sally Smith, this is going to work for you. Otherwise, if your name is Sally Smith, pick another name. Anyways. We're standing here, we've said our name, we've felt ourselves lean into it. Close your eyes and just relax your shoulders, kind of roll your shoulders, roll your head a little bit to clear yourself from that previous reading, and say, my name is Sally Smith. You feel yourself rock backward on your heels. Yes, okay, that's the tip test. So you're either leaning forward into something or you're falling away from it. It's super simple, and you can do it with everything. You can do it in the grocery store. You're in front of the aisle, and do you pick one kind of soup or another, or you pick one piece of fruit or another? Hold whatever it is in your non-dominant hand and hold it up to your solar plexus, your belly, that 3D chakra that is interacting with your 3D reality and experience. Hold it up to that. Your other hand just rests gently. You can either support that left hand if you're right-handed, or let it, rest at your side, whichever is most comfortable for you. And just ask yourself the question, do I buy this one? You'll know. You'll lean forward or you'll feel yourself being pushed back. It is super easy. But I want to talk a little bit about pendulums too, because pendulums are part of this picture, and I'm not talking about us being pendulums or about using crystals as pendulums for divination necessarily. I am talking about Vadim Zeland. pendulums, okay? Pendulums, we don't talk enough about this on this channel. We don't talk enough about this in our collectives and in the global collective, and we really need to be paying attention to this. The United States has become galvanized, has become so separated, so divided between definitions of political parties, between definitions of gender, and how we define gender. It's crazy. A pendulum is an energy system that's gathered around any topic, any idea, but it's a concept. It's Christianity is its own pendulum, as is Islam, as is Buddhism, as is Hinduism. There are people who love it and people that hate it. And regardless of whether you love it or hate it, you're feeding into it. You are an adherent. So any kind of energy that you're giving, whether it's positive or negative, does not matter. It's just part of a pole. We just talked about that. Okay? So it doesn't matter if you're a lover or a hater of any particular thing. If you are putting any energy into it, you are feeding it. It is making it grow. A pendulum's only purpose is to consume energy from the adherents and grow. Vinyl records are a pendulum that's lost its sway, although there's a small, possibly growing, but for the most part, right? You don't hear a lot, you don't see a lot. Vinyl records are not a pendulum that have a whole lot of adherents. Now, AI, on the other hand, huge, right? Lovers or haters, very few in between. This is a pendulum that is gathering speed, that is gathering momentum, that is gathering power, that is gathering control. When a pendulum grows powerful enough, such as the bureaucratic system, it creates its own laws, which all its adherents subconsciously follow. So, you need to be, we need to be, every single one of us needs to be, I need to be, being more mindful of what's triggering me, of what's causing me to react, of what's making me recoil, okay, in alarm, in distaste, in fury, in anger, all right, remembering that all of those emotions are on that heavier energy scale that are bringing us down, that are keeping us from our fullest potential. So we want to be aware of, be wary of, be watching for these things that draw us in. Even things that we think are benefits can be used as tools by those who want to look for tools to cause harm. They will find it. I'm reminded very much of Don Miguel Ruiz's the four agreements, not being impeccable with your word, being impeccable with your word, actually paying attention to what you're saying and what you're thinking about saying and the thoughts that are going through your mind, because saying is also in what you're thinking. You're saying things to yourself. You're having conversations with yourself when you're having these thoughts. So that's its own form of speaking. Obviously, when we speak, we make vibrations happen. So we're manifesting that energy right now with everything that we say. So we need to be paying attention to what is triggering us, what is causing us to react out of fear, out of concern, out of dislike, whatever it is, and identify that, step back, step away, step away. Remember what we want to do instead. We don't want to judge. We don't want to fall back into that scale of good and bad and right and wrong and hate and love and positive and negative. We want to get out of this mind trap of judgment. And we want to move into discernment. We want to move into this idea where we can release the need to define Okay, but we have to stop looking at things as good versus bad, you versus me, right versus wrong, us versus them, chosen versus not chosen. This has become my newest thing that bugs me about YouTube videos, is all of the chosen videos. And we're all chosen, honey, okay? Let's be honest. This is a collective. There is no one who is so special as to not be a part of this love, of this support, of this encouragement of the collective. That doesn't happen. It's not possible. And we need to remove our definitions. We need to stop looking at things. You see something on Facebook and you immediately say, oh, that's nasty. Oh, that's wonderful. Just two different sides of the same scale. We can choose to not have an opinion at all. We can choose not to engage. And in that, we remove the power. We remove the feed, literally, from whatever it is that we are responding to. And remembering again, even things that are good in our opinion, things that are right in our opinion. For somebody else, they're going to look at it and see something completely different, something opposite. Okay, so just keep that in mind. We don't have to judge. We don't have to be that person that has to identify a definition and label everything. We can choose to not engage. We can choose to not have an opinion on something. We remember always that these are just definitions. The way our brains from survival mode judged and filtered in or out whatever is around us in our environment. Each of these are just points on an imaginary scale like black and white. They're just definitions of variations of light and shadow. We want to simply understand it either fits or it doesn't fit for us. That's it. All we are responsible for is ourselves. We can stop trying to control everybody else. We can stop trying to control what they are doing, what they are saying, what they are posting. We can stop that entirely and simply just say it either fits or it doesn't fit for me personally. That's it. Keeping it very simple, because when we judge, we are investing our ego. We are investing our sense of identity, our sense of who we are, and we place that as a filter upon somebody else or something else, a situation, and we say, well, obviously, this is not a good match. Okay, just leave it like that. It's not a good fit. Fine. Don't put anything else on it. We don't have to identify ourselves with these things, either with or without. Either we are wanting it to be a part of us or not. It does not matter. We compare things that are outside of us to things that are inside of us. And when we discern, we invest our intuition. So it's a difference between coming from your third chakra, which is what is in constant communication with our 3D reality experience. Our third chakra is dependent on what's happening with our fourth chakra. They are intertwined. Those nerve endings that form the heart's little brain are they're going right through the visceral area there of that solar plexus third chakra. So your reality is getting instructions from your emotions. When we are discerning, we are coming from our heart directly. No filter. Not putting judgment on, not putting definitions on, not putting labels on. Simply saying, it either fits or it doesn't fit. And we just covered this in the latest Authentic Self section. It's not a comparison between the outside world and the inside world. It's a review, an assessment of how we feel inside in response to something outside. It either fits or it doesn't. That's it. We overcomplicate the question by trying to validate our ego's drive to take first position, to be in control. When you are continuing your practice of mindfulness, when you sit with yourself and just examine, assess, discern what you're feeling and what you're thinking, you can identify easily when your ego is pushing forward and gently guide it back to the rear of the bus. We do not need to live from ego anymore. Ego has no place in this ascension, in our ascension, in your ascension, in my ascension. Ego is 3D. Ego needs to take a seat. We know who we are. That's what we know. You know who you are. And you feel so safe and so secure in that knowledge that you have no need or reason to try to validate how you feel to anyone else. That's living your authentic life. That's being your authentic self. No fear, no blame, no shame, no condemnation. You are who you are, plainly stated. What anyone else thinks about you or their opinion of what you are doing does not matter. I love this quote from Wayne Dyer. When you judge someone else, when you judge another, you do not define them. You define yourself. If having purple and pink hair with multiple body piercings and tattoos is how you feel most comfortable expressing yourself, and you're practicing these in a responsible manner that brings no harm to you or anyone else, just do it. Keep in mind that some things may have results like a loss of your current job if you work in a bank or have some big corporate gig, for example, although those norms are gradually being replaced with a more generous allowance for personal expression. You probably don't fit in that environment anyways, do you? And you know that. So consider where you are and who you are. And if it doesn't fit, don't make it try to fit. You're not that square peg trying to smash yourself into a round hole. There's plenty of opportunities for you where you are not just going to fit in, but where you are going to be surrounded by others just like you who are doing the same thing. Taking all of the ramifications into account, utilizing your best discernment, you can live your fullest expression of who you really are. Use those tips that I gave you at the very beginning of the video. Use the tip test, literally, tip, and see if something either works for you or it doesn't. That's the first tool. The second tool is being mindful. When you feel yourself react, you're acting in a way you have acted before, so you are reacting from history, responding to some kind of stimulus, something somebody said or did, something you saw, heard, read, whatever it is, okay? Being mindful and understanding that response doesn't have to define us. It's simply a way of discerning. It either fits or it doesn't. As it harms none, do what you will is the old Wiccan read, and it absolutely applies right here. Okay? If you are not hurting anybody by how you are living your life, by the career path that you have chosen, if it's actually bringing blessings and benefits, those positive things on that positive side of the scale, those are the things we want to encourage. We want to be aware of the pendulums that have attached themselves to us and are dragging us along, and detach. And there are very easy ways that you can detach from pendulums. I'm not going to go into that on this video. It's gone on long enough as it is. There are other videos out on YouTube as well as other platforms. Vadim Zeland, obviously's book for how to detach from pendulums, but simply being aware of them and choosing not to respond is the best response, regardless of whether it's something you're cheerleading for or not. The only thing you should be cheerleading for is cheerleading for you to live your most authentic life and for others to be living their most authentic life. And everybody else doing everything else and everything else happening on this planet that is outside of our control, because the only thing we control is us, right? We allow ourselves the freedom to be truly us, to be who we truly are. So it either fits or it doesn't, honey. Stop trying to squish yourself into a size 2 when you know you are a size 7. A size 7 is perfectly fine. Nobody needs to be that skinny. I don't know whoever was thinking about that, but I got that thought. I love you. You are very strong. You are very wise. You have all of this knowledge all within you. It all came with you when you showed up here on this planet. All you have to do is connect with it by practicing that mindfulness meditation, mindfulness practice of being aware of what you are reacting, responding to. It either fits or it doesn't, and leave it at that. So have the most amazing, fantastic day. I love you. Blessings to you. Be blessed. Be thrice blessed. Namaste and ciao for now.